Hello again, viewers. It's time to now preview Division 2 and Division 3 of the NFL action. Of course, some very big, noteworthy performances in round 4. A few goal-kicking feats, I'd imagine, by a few of the clubs. So some really good football, both in Divi 2 and Divi 3. First game off the rank in Division 1 is Division 2 rather, is Diamond Creek and Epping. Both sides sitting third and sitting fourth at this point of the year. Epping getting probably their best win of the season last week against Fitzroy Stars. You were there, JC. They got the big lead in the first half. They watched as Fitzroy Stars really came back into it, but they were good to just fight their way back into it, get their momentum back, and get 4 points on the board. And of course, Diamond Creek's playing well this year.
Yeah, spot on. And look, I think what's most notable about last week was that we had 3 teams kick over 25 goals, which is just amazing. Three out of the 4 games had 25 plus goals from one side. You're right, Epping, they were challenged and they responded beautifully. Matty Garland in particular down forward ended up with 5 goals, and he was a real steady influence. He doesn't need many opportunities to kick goals, and he's really, really dangerous. He was terrific. Jared King across half-back, he was Mr. Cool. He's just so calm under pressure, and a couple of times he was found himself with a footy and had no one down the ground to kick to, so he ended up running backwards. I reckon he held onto the ball without bouncing it for about 20 seconds at one stage. He just didn't hurry it, didn't bother panicking, and look, he was terrific. Diamond Creek have started the season pretty well, I reckon. I think they'd be reasonably happy with where they're at. Lukey Simpson on the weekend kicking 5. Great to see Gutto getting amongst the goal kickers and also getting the best player from Diamond Creek. So look, I think Epping will probably be too strong in this, and I think it's probably around a 5-goal margin for the Pingers. Quinny?
Yeah, probably leaning towards Epping for mine as well. I think it might be a bit closer than the 5 goals. So Diamond Creek had a nice bounce-back win over Thomastown last week, who are admittedly struggling a little bit. But when you think that the Creekers have only been beaten by the all-conquering Plenty side at the moment, so they are in some good form, and it should be a pretty close game in that one.
Well, one side that lost to Lower Plenty last week was Hurstbridge, of course, conceding 40 goals, 17 of those in the first quarter. It must be some kind of record. The job doesn't get easier this weekend when they travel to second place Laylaw, which could be another blowout, so to speak. But Hurstbridge did get a win in round 3, so it could have been just one of those really, really bad days, and hopefully they can bounce back from it. But just going on the form of last weekend from this year, you have to go for Laylaw in that one.
Oh, no doubt, and 32 goals last week, Layla against Mernda, and only 9 for Big Shep, the skipper. So I reckon he'd be pretty disappointed with that. Couldn't even get the double figures. So the challengers laid down there, Shep. But look, they're playing some great footy, Layla, and I think Hurstbridge would be pretty worried about what they're coming up against. The really good side for Hurstbridge, I mentioned Jack Donnelly last week. He's come out and kicked 5 again, and his team's only kicked 9 for the day and lost by 30 plus goals. So to kick 5 goals in a match like that, when your side gets absolutely pantsed, as a young kid, I think he's still only 19 years old. So look, that's terrific. Nathan Grimes 3 goals also. Not a lot of positives to take out of the game for the Bridges, but look, they can regroup and they'll head to Sydney Crescent. And they've got nothing to lose, really. So Laylaw by 80 points.
And Quinny?
The biggest worry for me from Hurstbridge, obviously, besides the actual total margin, that Lower Plenty had 62 scoring shots. Hurstbridge only scored 61 points. So when you're giving up, it's a bit of a gap. It just shows how poor Hurstbridge were, or how good Lower Plenty were last week. But even you said Big Shepherd for Laylaw as well. Just a lazy 9 last week takes them, I think, to 27 or 28, I think, for the season. So in great form, and they should be too strong, you'd think.
Well, the next game is probably a must-win game for both sides now. It's Thomastown up against Fitzroy Stars. I tipped Fitzroy Stars last week. I said it was a game against Epping where they probably really have to show something. If they're going to be a finals contender, they had to stand themselves in the competition last week. It didn't happen. They only played 1 quarter of football, which is unacceptable at this level of the Northern Football League, and I expect them to bounce back this week against Thomastown, but you never know. Thomastown, it could cause the upset, but Fitzroy Stars, for mine, probably just a stronger outfit.
Yeah, well, the Thomastown Bears started really well last week against Diamond Creek. They jumped out to a 14 or 11-point lead. It was 11-point lead. So they've had 12 scoring shots to only 6 in the first quarter, and from there it was pretty much all Diamond Creek. So I'm hearing really good things about young Josh Bear. He's turning 18 this year, a former Layla Stars junior, playing his first year of senior footy. So that's really good for Thomastown, and they're the sort of kids they need to just give them something to look forward to in the future. We mentioned last week the injury to Horman, which is hopefully a not too long-term injury, but we believe he's going to miss a fair bit of footy. Calafiore will serve the second week of his suspension this week, so they'll still be without him. And for Fitzroy Stars, that third quarter last week against Epping, they were exhilarating. They got a fair old bake at half time from their coach, and they came out and played accordingly. And look, when you're looking through the middle of the ground at Fitzroy Stars when they play, and it's Lionel Proctor kicking it over to Damien Walker, who then gives it to Andy Lovett. They're just amazing to watch when they're in full flight. No one's going to be able to go with them, and for that reason alone, I'm going to tip the Stars. And Damien Walker was by far and away the pick of those three players, even though Lionel Proctor probably had 60 touches, as he always does. But the Stars for me.
Yeah, as pretty much as you touched on there, Jase, even though Fitzroy have only got the one win for the year, by all accounts they have been pretty good in a few of their losses. So, and their run and carry is well documented, so they should be able to get over the top of Thomastown. In the last 2 weeks, their losses have been by combined, I think it's about 135 points or so. So they're getting up pretty handily beaten. So I think Fitzroy should be able to get their second win of the year.
Well, another side that's going to find it tough this week is Mernda, of course. Copped a bit of trouble last week against Laylaw, and doesn't get any easier when they take on the number 1 ranked side in Division 2 in Lowell Plenty this week. I think we're all going to have to go for Lowell Plenty. It's going to be unanimous, but just that forward line, Darcy Barton's kicked 17 goals in 2 weeks. You'd expect that to almost get 30 this week in the form. Just the form he's in, he's almost unstoppable for any team. And of course, we mentioned them the last 3 weeks, but Benny Gill and Billy Barton in there as well. I don't think Mernda's got much chance in stopping those 3 blokes up forward.
No, you're spot on. And look, last week we've talked about Lower Plenty Hurstbridge. I mean, Hurstbridge, as Quinny said, kicked 9 goals for the game, and for Lower Plenty, Ben Gill and Darcy Barton both kicked 9 as well. So they're in amazing form. Their forward line, and it's the midfield supply that's really getting them over the line as well. Shannon Strickland, he's bobbed up and kicked 5. Graham Brown, who's a Stars, kicked 4. And young Reece Geary, who's one of my favourite players to watch. He reminds me a little bit of Warren Treadway the way he moves. He's kicked a couple as well. For Mernda, really great to see a young bloke I mentioned last week, Jesse Owens-Draper, who was clearly their best player last week. But look, they've got to travel down to the small ground at Lower Plenty, and I can't imagine anyone who's going to be able to go with Gill, Barton or Barton, and it might be a very, very ugly end result for the Demons.
Yeah, I think it has to be unanimous. Lower Plenty should win very, very comfortably. I know I'm liking my stats at the moment. I got a few little odd ones I found out. Lower Plenty scored 17 goals in the first quarter, as you said last week. Mernda have kicked 19 in the last 2 weeks. So in 8 quarters they've been able to manage 19, and Lower Plenty got 17 in 1 last week. So you'd be pretty hard pressed to go past Lower Plenty.
Well, the lowest score for a quarter last week was 7 goals in a quarter. They managed to get 49, which is their lowest score across the quarter. So you do that any week and you're going to get the 4 points.
7 goals, 7 it was too.
There we go. So had they kicked straight, it could have been a bit worse. But we'll be back right after this short break, and we'll preview Division 3. Division 3 preview now. It's first game on the cards is Reservoir up against Panther Hill. Both sides travelling fairly well in season 2011. Reservoir having a disappointing 4-point loss last week, while Panther Hill suffered their first loss of the year at the hands of Parkside. Really for Panther Hill in this one, I know they're away from home. Reservoir's form has been a bit inconsistent with the winning one, losing one, and so forth. 2 weeks ago they weren't that impressive in the win over Watsonia. They can play good football, but I think Panther Hill for mine.
Yeah, look, two absolute heart stoppers in a row for Reservoir. They had their chance to steal it last week. Georgieski had a set shot, a reasonably gettable set shot, missed it, and just as the South Marine player was about to bring the ball back in, the siren's gone. So look, that could have been a 1-point win. As it turned out, it was a 4-point loss. Doherty again, just playing some great footy, won the league best and fairest last year in Division 3. Big Keys in the ruck is doing some great things, and I'll leave Braden White alone this week. For Panton Hill, look, I think they'd be a little bit disappointed with not winning on their home turf last week. Big John O'Gara, the playing coach, 7 goals, Tristan Kremborg 4, so plenty of firepower, but when you get 24 goals kicked against you, particularly on your home ground, you're probably not going to win too many. So, look, I'm going to tip probably a little bit of an upset. I think Reservoir might win this one at Chris Park on Saturday, Quinny.
I did sort of touch on it pretty quickly there, JC, but the big thing for me, Reservoir, the last 2 out of the last 3 weeks have kicked more points than goals, so their kicking has been pretty wayward, and I think that could be the difference to give Panton Hill the win, because Panton Hill have proven they can score, and they score in bunches a lot of the time as well, so if Reservoir can't take their chances, it could be a struggle for them.
I think if you look back at round 2, they kicked 4-15 against Parkside as well, so that doesn't look too pretty, but on the cards is Parkside up against Heidelberg West. Heidelberg West getting closer and closer to an elusive first win. They'll find it tougher against Parkside today, but of course last week only a 44-point loss, so week by week they are getting there, JC.
And they are. Look, Heidelberg West, a really good first quarter last week. I saw pretty much their whole first half, and they got a great target up forward in Big Lacey. He kicked 3, and I reckon they all came in the first quarter. I might be wrong there, but look, they didn't score in the second quarter, and from then on it was all Borough. So some worrying signs there for Heidelberg West, but look, if you take the first quarter out in isolation, then it's not a bad result. For Parkside, I've spoken to a couple of the Parkside players, and they're just amazed at how good a footballer Andy Bennett is. He's playing midfield, pushing forward, and look, the one thing they've been super impressed with is his second and third efforts. They just think that no one can go with him, because he's just such a clever player, and he's just so skillful and smart and classy that he's made a huge difference up there. Great to see Shannon Ware kick 6 on the weekend, and I've actually heard whispers that an old favourite down there at Pitcher Park might be returning. So we'll watch this space in the next couple of weeks.
Get on to you next week.
Parkside comfortably.
Yeah, Parkside comfortably for mine. You think they should be too good for Heidelberg West, even though the scoreboard does probably flatter Heidelberg West a little bit from last week. I don't want to seem like I'm putting anything on them or anything. But there was. Don't want me to seem like I'm taking pots or anything like that, but St Mary's had 10 scoring shots in the first quarter, and then Heidelberg only had 9 for the entire game, so if St Mary's would have kicked a bit better, you think it probably would have got a bit uglier than it was, but it is good to see, if you were there, just see some signs of improvement and things, because it's obviously what we all want to see. We don't want to see that sort of competition.
And another side improving is Watsonia. They're up against St Mary's this week. Watsonia having the bye in round 4, bitterly close against Reservoir in round 3, just falling 5 points short, I think it was, 5 or 4 points. So they're going to want some revenge this week against St Mary's. And St Mary's, well, as we just mentioned, they didn't really bury Heidelberg West as many people would have thought. So you give Watsonia half a chance in that regard, but I mean, the mind says St Mary's, perhaps the heart says Watsonia a little bit, just to see them get a win for the first time in a couple of years, but St Mary's should win this one.
Disagree. I reckon the Saints are going to get their first win in a couple of years, and AK Lions is going to be rocking come 5 o'clock on Saturday. Look, Watsonia desperately unlucky against Reservoir a couple of weeks ago, and pretty much had the game sewn up, and then just things didn't fall their way in the last couple of minutes. But for St Mary's, Quinny was right. They had a lot of scoring shots, 28 for the game, and kicked 10-18. Dylan Ronalds is a former under-19 league best and fairest who's playing some really good footy. Kicked a couple on the weekend, started at full forward, pushes up into the ruck. He's an amazing athlete, got a terrific leap on him, and he's playing some really good footy. Another old mate of mine, Nick Perry, a former Greensborough player, he's a big, strong on-baller who likes to push forward as well, and he's playing some really good footy as well. So, look, St Mary's, if they can kick straight, then they're certainly going to give Watsonia an almighty fright. But I just reckon at home that Watsonia might get the job done by a couple of goals.
We'll wait and see.
And even as you said, playing at home, they will take a lot from the players. Will take a lot from that close game against Reservoir the other week, showing they can obviously match it with some of the better sides in Division 3. But the fans as well would be up and about, as close as they've been for a bit of time. So they know coming off a bye, they've had 2 weeks to really build themselves up for this game, and could give St Mary's a bit of a scare. But I don't think they'll quite get it, JC. I think they'll be thereabouts again, but St Mary's for mine.
Well, only time will tell. Of course, as we mentioned before, this week is charity round, so of course get around your club and throw in a few dollars if you can to the designated charity of your club's choice. Thank you for watching this instalment. Of course, we've got Youth Girls at Barling Reserve on Saturday morning. If you can get along, RMIT on Friday nights for Friday night netball, and of course Jared's juniors on the Sunday. Thank you for watching.
And just quickly, sorry, Friday night, if you don't want to go to the netball, you can also come down to Montmorency's ground for a couple of under 15 rep games against Essendon District. So starting at 6:30 and 8 o'clock, the two games are. So if you don't want to go to the netball, if you don't want to watch Collingwood Geelong, come down to Monty.
So there's plenty going on in the NFL to keep you busy over the weekend. We'll see you again next week.